Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to our presentation this afternoon, Lodging BAS with QuickBooks Online. I am Lauretta Finis and I am a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network here in Australia. I am also a certified pro advisor and I run a business called Quick Business Bookkeeping Solutions, and our website is qbbs.com.au if you want to find out a bit more about myself and what I do. So in today's presentation I will take you through a live demonstration and step by step. This Wednesday, which will be Wednesday the 18th of May, do go into the intuit.com.au website and look for the blogs, the product update blogs, and you will find that there is a step-by-step guide of what I'm about to do today. So if you do want to write down some notes, please do. Otherwise, you can wait until the blog is up and you can print that off, because I am going to follow the blog that that is going to be posted on Wednesday the 18th of May. Okay. So basically, lodging BAS using QuickBooks Online. If you are a business who is registered for GST, you are required to lodge your business activity statement, whether it's monthly, quarterly or annually. The first thing that you do need to make sure that is set up is your GST. So the first thing you need to do is go through to your Gst Center, and this is what it looks like if the Gst Center is not set up. So the first thing that you would need to do after that is click on Set Up GST. And again, I'll just run that past you everyone. On the left-hand side navigation bar, click on GST. When you get to the Gst Center, make sure it is turned on. If it's not, all you need to do is click on Set Up GST, and then that will set up the GST for you behind the scenes. It will actually come up with a box which you will need to put in the details, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let's go to my other file where I actually do have GST set up. Again, left-hand side navigation bar, go to the Gst Center. Now this is what it looks like if the Gst Center is set up. And if you are to set up for the very first time, this window will actually populate, which shows you the GST rates, which are all the codes that are used, as well as this window here. Now in this window you do need to make sure that you have your settings to the correct reporting method, as well as your ABN number, start of your tax year, the lodging frequency, whether it's monthly, quarterly, half-yearly or yearly with your BAS, your PAYG instalment amount, that is also found on your BAS, whether it's option 1 or option 2, and if you have WET, FBT, luxury car tax or fuel tax credit associated with your BAS. You can tick or untick what you don't need. Okay, I'll just tick on, let's just say WET tax, okay, and I'll click on Save. So one thing you do need to be aware of, that once you've set up your GST, there are 2 new accounts that will automatically be created in your chart of accounts. So let's have a look at those. So in our chart of accounts, what will be set up as soon as you turn on your GST is the BAS liabilities account and the BAS suspense account. Now everyone, if you're looking at these 2, and I've actually numbered them because I do use account numbers on our chart of accounts, so that's why you've got a 23520 and a 23530. So you can edit the name of these. So all I need to do is click on Edit in that row, because as soon as you set it up, this is what it looks like. BAS liabilities. So let's just go back down to BAS liabilities. There it is there. And the BAS suspense account, that's what it looks like there. save and close. So as you can see, what I've actually done previously is I've actually gone in and edited the name of the BAS suspense account and the BAS liabilities account. Okay, the BAS liabilities account is where the GST collected and GST paid amounts are posted when the transaction includes any GST. So if we go in and actually look at this report, it'll be all the GST amounts coming through with a particular transaction. Okay, so that's your GST account. So let me go back to where I was. That's your BAS liabilities account. Your BAS suspense account is, well, it's like a clearing account. So once we lodge our BAS in QuickBooks Online, automatically it will generate a journal, and that journal will send the outstanding amount to be paid or refunded to this account called BAS suspense account. Okay, and we'll go through that journal. So if I did want to actually rename something, either the liabilities or the suspense account, all I need to do is click on Edit. There's my BAS liabilities, so I could say paid and collected. So name it whatever it is that you need to remember your BAS liabilities and BAS suspense account. You will please note that I have above the BAS liabilities account an account called an ATO RBA clearing account, because in our practice, as a compliance for our practice, we do reconcile each quarter to the running balance account at the ATO. That's why I have an extra account, and I'll show you what I actually process and how I process that. So that's the two accounts, BAS liabilities and BAS suspense account, that will be system generated as soon as you turn on your GST. So let's have a look at the Gst Center. How do we actually process a BAS? Once you've actually reconciled and you've done all your quarterly checks, or whether it's monthly, if it's a monthly BAS, you know, you would have run all your bank account reconciliations, you would have checked all your GST, and you would have actually done, if you've got a BAS checklist, we actually use a BAS checklist. This is what it looks like. That's what our BAS checklist looks like for our business. So we know that if we process each client's BAS, we follow our checklist, and that way we know that we have done the correct thing compliance-wise. So my senior bookkeeper would go through this checklist and make sure she's ticked off everything. Then we know that we are ready to run the reports. And this is what the reports look like. So this is what we've got in our BAS Center, the three main reports. One is called the Exemption Detail Report, and I'll come back to that in about 5 or 10 minutes, because I need to explain to you what the Exemption Detail Report is, but I'll show you what it is in a moment. So the first thing that you run off is a detailed report. And everyone, this isn't any different to any other GST detailed report that you know of in any other software. So, and at the moment I am actually running this presentation with these dates, 14, run report. So these are my dates that I'm using for today's presentation. So as you can see, what you do is you check all your GST codes. They're your invoices, they're your expenses. Make sure they've actually been categorised correctly. Once they have, you know that your coding is correct. And by the way, just have a look down the bottom. Transactions in a previous GST period were changed after filing. So before filing this period's GST, check the exemption report to confirm that the transactions are correct. So this is what I'll show you in a moment. So this is one BAS detailed report. Now, our BAS summary. This is what you would run. And again, let me take it back to the 1st of the 7th, 15. Let me show you something. I am actually logged into our QuickBooks Online Accountant dashboard. So if I just go into Report Tools, there we go. Yep, that's fine. Custom, yep, it's fine. 30th September. And Okay, once I go into, it's GST. Don't forget those default reports dates do not actually affect our GST, which is a bit of a bugger, isn't it? So what I'll do is I'll just tab that in, 30th of September 14, run report, and here's my BAS summary for 2014. Simple as, there's your G1, there's your 1A, $1,093. There's my 1B, $1,015.16, and then also too, it's pulled through our wages and also the PAYG amount for W2. All right, and again, it's in bright red. Don't forget you've got an exemption report. So it's actually making sure that you are aware that there are some changes that have happened after you've actually lodged the previous BAS. So what I'm going to do, everyone, this is a Chrome tip, okay? I am at the top of the tab. There's my cursor. Right-click, duplicate, because when I'm doing this type of work, I like to use more than one window. So as you can see, there's my BAS summary, and now the next report, so the next report that you run is complete BAS. And again, yes, it's picked up. It's, yep, okay, beautiful. Now, I might just make this a little bit smaller. That way you can see it all in one screen. That's lovely. Okay. What I want you to note is, look at this last figure, 6705. Have a look at our other BAS report, 6708. This is one thing I need you to remember. This BAS summary report is for all transactions that have occurred between July and September on a cash basis. This report, if it was an accruals basis, it would show all the transactions on an accruals basis. Okay, so let's go back and have a look at our complete BAS report. So if you think of this as a worksheet, because what this worksheet is telling me that I have a different figure, 6705. And if I work out what my GST on sales is, 1093, so let's go back to our BAS summary, GST on sales, 1093. Okay, that's perfect. I don't have to worry about GST on sales. But let's have a look at GST on purchases, $1,015. GST on purchases, $1,018. So we've got a $3 difference. So this is telling me that a transaction's been changed after I click this mark as lodged. And I can quite clearly see that, everyone. See how I've got this exemption amount in here? This tells me that a transaction was changed after I hit the previous BAS, so it would have been in the June 14 BAS. Now, if I click on mark as lodged, look what comes up. It says, this will close the books for this GST period. Transactions from this period that are changed later will be shown in the GST exception report. So what this is telling us, oops, I don't want to continue, cancel. So what this is telling us that someone has gone in and changed a transaction after I clicked the mark as lodged. So what I would have lodged to the ATO has actually changed somewhat, and we've already picked up that $3 in there, okay? So now, and I'm going to open up another window, right click in that tab, and I'm going to duplicate that. So now I want to show you that, let me go back into that Gst Center. Now I want to show you that exception detail report. And there you go. This is the exemption report that we see on the bottom here. So if I clicked on exemption report as well, it would have taken me to the same report, as you can see. So let me just click back to summary so I have my summary up. And there you go. So that tells us that someone's gone in and changed these two amounts. And guess what? So that's your net on G11, $31.50, and that's your GST amount, $3.16. So it has affected the GST. So please make sure that you do check this report, because this report here now includes that $3.16. So it actually works it out for you automatically. Isn't that great? Because in the old days, we had to go in and reverse everything out. If we had to change something, we had to do it in the next period. Now you don't. You need to work out what needs to be changed, change that actual transaction, and guess what? It will come up in your GST exemption report. Now, just to actually make it a little bit more complicated, it is also called a BAS amendment report. So if you see BAS amendment report and GST exemption report, they are exactly the same. Okay, so now we know that when we actually lodge to the ATO, we have to use these figures. Okay, we have to use these figures because a transaction's been changed prior and we need to make sure that we actually pick it up in our BAS that we're actually sending off. Okay, nice and simple, everyone. The other thing I want you to note before I go any further is see these amounts in total salary, wages and other payments and the PAYG amount. That is picking up the 3 months of gross and also PAYG. All right. If I want to only process just the month of March, because I may have an IAS, I'll show you what we need to do a little bit later on. Okay, so I'm not going to hit that mark as lodged yet. So I want to show you how to fix that up so you actually only see your month for March correctly. So once you click on that mark as lodged, it will come up with this window. If you're pretty sure that that's correct, all you need to do is click on continue. Okay, and I won't actually do that because I want to change my W1 and W2 figures. Okay. So once I click on mark as lodged, what it will do is it will spit out an automatic journal entry. Let me see if I've got one in there. Okay, so it will look something similar to this. It will clear out your BAS liabilities account and it will send that amount to your BAS suspense account. And of course, if you had PAYG, it would actually pick it up in these two rows there as well for your PAYG. Okay? I'll show you that towards the end of the presentation, everyone. Now, one other thing that I do want to note is that once you actually hit that mark as lodged, under View History, you can actually see what we actually lodged in March. So if I click on BAS Summary, it will show me the summary. You can see it was a 0 report there. And if I had an exception detail, that's where it would be shown. Now see here, we've actually recorded the actual payment against this amount. Okay, so there are a couple of ways that you can record the actual process of the payment. So this one here to the end of June, again it's a 0 amount. If I wanted to record that amount, I would click on record and that would take it out of the bank account that it got paid out of and the amount that I'm paying, and if you wanted to put in a memo and click save. I personally don't do mine this way because I do mine all through the ATO RBA account, and if you have a look at this, I cannot send this payment to the ATO RBA account, and I'll show you that, how we do that a little bit later on. I just wanted you to be aware that you can actually see a history of what you've actually done. Okay, so what I want to do is go back to my Gst Center, and I do actually want to go into my complete BAS. As I mentioned, everyone, these figures are for the 3 months, okay? These figures are for the 3 months. So what we do need to do is reduce these figures so we actually only see September, I should say, if we are on a monthly IAS. Okay, if we're on a monthly IAS, we only want to see the September figures. So how do we do that? Let's just go back into one of our pages. Let's click on to, say, Reports, and I'll go to Balance Sheet, and I will go to my payroll clearing account because I want to find the actual journals. Don't forget, with our payroll, it will send it to a payroll clearing account. That's the journal entry that it processes whenever I do a payroll. Then I just transfer it out of the bank and it should come down to zero. This is quite good because as you can see, I'm out 33 cents. So I know that somewhere it's gone wrong. See this payment there? It hasn't actually tallied up. So what I would do, so that I get my month only of September showing in that report, I find all my journals for the previous 2 months. So this is one, this is July. So see this BAS W1, this is how it actually picks up the figures and actually sends it to our report. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to reduce that to out of scope. And then I'm going to save and close that. So it's taken 1 month out. I want you to remember this figure. I better write that down. It's 24,699 and 6630. That's a PAYG for the 3 months. But if we've got a monthly IAS, we only want to see it for September, remember? So I've done that one for the month of July. Now let me pick up August. And again, I'll just change those GST codings to out of scope. Okay, and save and close. Right, so now let's have a look at our BAS activity statement under Complete BAS. Don't forget, I'm in a different page, different website page, so I need to refresh it. So now when I go to my Complete BAS, look at that. That is the figure for March and for the March gross and the PAYG for March. Sorry, I keep going March, September. Okay, September gross and September PAYG. And if you wanted to check, you'd go into your Employee Center and run off your payment summary, your payroll summary report, I should say. Now that I've got my figure correct for September, okay, I am going to now click on Mark as Lodged. Yep, I know that's going to happen. It's going to close our books down. That's what we want to happen. Click on Continue. And automatically, there's our history. So therefore, we've actually lodged the September quarter on the 16th of May. Now, what it will do is it will spit out an automatic journal behind the scenes. So let's pick up that journal, and you can find it in our search field. There it is here. So there's a couple of options that you can deal with this journal, and you can see the journals picked up what we had in our BAS liability. It's actually rounded it off the actual 12 cents to our round off account. There's our BAS suspense, so it's actually sitting there waiting for us to pay in our BAS suspense, as well as it's actually deducted the PAYG withholdings payable account and also sent it to our BAS suspense. There's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. One is that the journal actually spits out at the 16th of May. It's the actual day that you press that mark as lodged. Okay, if you want to, you can change that. So if we are in the at the end of the quarter, I can actually go in now and I can say this is for the 30th September 14. And I can actually save it. Before I save it, if I go to type something in, if I go to add in another account, guess what? It won't allow me. Okay, so it won't allow you to put in a journal memo, and it won't allow you to actually add. Say, for instance, you might have PAYG withholding installments, so it won't actually allow you to add any other transactions in there. So this is my workaround on that. So I'm just going to take that out and I'm going to save it to the 30th of the 9th, 2014. And I'll go save and close. That will save it to the end of that quarter. But guess what, everyone? There is the other option, and that's the option that I do. I will pick up this journal entry and I will click on reverse, and it will reverse my journal entry. Now, one thing I want you to note is that I would actually reverse it out on the same day. That way it's a zero balance. Same day in, day out, same balance, okay? I'll go save and close, because option 2, so that's us reversing the journal. I just want to show you first what option 2 is, everyone. So we go to balance sheet. I mean, this might be okay for you guys. It's all right to do that. So if we look at our BAS, September 14, let me just check that. Yep, because we reversed it out. And if we look in our BAS liabilities account on, 30th of September, there is the journal entry that went through, and there is the journal entry that I reversed, okay? You can leave it at that if you want to. Okay, you can leave it. But what I do is I already automatically have in my recurring transactions an actual journal set up that I would actually process for the 30th of September, for that quarter I should say. And then as you can see, it'll actually say end of quarter September 2014. And guess what? I'm a bit anal, everyone, because I like to still split up my collected and paid, and I actually get that report off here. So that's my GST on sales, that's my GST on purchases. But it would be out of this report that I've actually lodged. Because don't forget we had that $3 exception. So where I pick up my details will be from here. So it'll be GST on sales 1093 and GST on purchases 1018. Okay, and of course my payment, my PAYG of 2210. That is what my journal entry is made up of. So therefore I've got memo in there so I know what quarter it is. I can actually type in the description. If I had PAYGI, if I have FBT, I can still do it manually. So there's still that manual workaround, everyone, if you want to. Otherwise it's quite fine to leave it in that way. The other thing I want to show you while I'm actually in my recurring transactions, I also have an IAS monthly journal set up as well, because when I process my IAS, I would actually journal the IAS out of the PAYG withholding, and also note, everyone, I'm using the ATO RBA clearing account. Okay, I'm using the ATO RBA clearing account also in this journal, whereas in the other, the journal that happens automatically, it is the BAS suspense account. The other thing that I would actually have set up with KeyPay, don't forget, everyone, it will do the journal for you automatically. But let's just say, for instance, you might actually have a payroll specialist. We do for a couple of our clients, and this is the way we would enter in the actual journal. So we've actually got it set up as a recurring, so it reminds us, but more importantly it reminds us to pick up the correct GST. So all that I would have to do is pick up the end of month, or whether it's weekly or fortnightly journal from the specialist, from their report. I would actually make sure that our payroll clearing, wages and PAYG would balance off. Then the super as well, if there's anything else that needs to be entered into the journal. Okay, and of course that would be, weekly payroll journal, something like that. And then process that, save and close. So there are a couple of the recurring transactions that I actually have set up, everyone. All right, let's have a look then. We've actually processed the journal. So the journal's been processed, and then there's a couple of ways of how would we actually process these payments. If we click in View History, we can record the payment here. If you've kept it in your suspense account, that's fine, because that's where it will go to. And then it will go against whatever bank account, all right? So whatever period it is, the GST due amount, payment amount, date that's been paid, what bank account, and the payment amount if you want to put a memo in. I don't do it that way again. What I actually do is I just do a really quick transfer from my whatever bank account it is to my ATO, to my ATO RBA clearing account, because they may pay this on installments. That's why I have an ATO RBA clearing account set up as opposed to the suspense account that I use, because I have quite a few of our clients are on a payment monthly amount. So that payment amount would go in there, it would go against the ATO RBA clearing account, and every quarter our bookkeepers actually make sure that they reconcile in the balance sheet, let's go back to our balance sheet, the actual ATO RBA account. And this has to be what is actually owing in the actual RBA integrated client account. And that's why I use the ATO RBA clearing account as opposed to the suspense account. But I'm just giving you different ways that you can do your BAS. I'm not here to show you or to tell you how to run your BAS, because you may even have a third option. All right, so that was just a quick transfer. Now also too, everyone, I just want you to note that you can't actually post directly to the BAS liability account, okay? So the problem is it does actually allow you to post to the BAS liability account, as you can see, but guess what? It won't actually pick up in the Gst Center. Plus, you may be out in your creditors or debtors, depending on what transaction you're doing. The best way around this, if you do need to adjust something, is you would actually go in and do a journal entry and process whatever adjustment you require and make sure that you pick up the correct GST code, so it actually does get picked up through the through this GST reporting. So do remember that, everyone. I'm just going through my step by step because I've jumped around a little bit just so that it would actually make sense. So everyone, that is the end of our presentation. So I actually have this recorded, but I would suggest quite strongly that come this Wednesday, and I'll show you where this is again. If I just go to intuit.com.au, go to Learn and Support, go to Training and Events, no, sorry, I do lie. Go to Products and Updates. It will come up in here, and it's actually called the Lodging BAS using QuickBooks Online. And it is a step-by-step guide, everyone. That way you can actually go through step-by-step, make sure that you are picking up everything correctly, and you know, depending on if you've had an exemption detail, something's changed, just make sure that you are aware that you do need to actually pick up the actual GST amounts in the complete BAS if you actually have anything in the GST exemptions columns in here. So one thing I want you to note now is, remember how we actually lodged the September quarter? Now it actually moves to the next quarter. Okay, and this is what, it doesn't look as if we've got a lot of transactions in this quarter. Everyone, it is a dummy file, so I probably don't have anything in that quarter. But then again, when I'm ready, I'd click on Mark as Lodged. But before I actually do that, don't forget you need to actually go back in and check your BAS summary for that actual. So let's check that one out. So it'll be 10/14, and let's go 31st December 14. Run that report, and you can see, oh, we're pretty close. There you go, it's a $7 credit. And oops, sorry everyone, did I actually lose that one, did I? Yep, so that's the BAS summary report. Okay, let's go to our GST report again, Gst Center, complete BAS. It's actually moved to the next quarter because we lodged the September BAS, and there it is there, a $7 credit. So you can quite clearly see that if nothing is actually changed as an exemption detail report, it will actually equal exactly the same amount in your BAS, complete BAS worksheet. Also too, I just want to quickly let you know that if you actually have PAYG instalment, you can actually put it in there and you can actually process it so it actually adds it back into there. But again, everyone, I actually do mine more of a manual control when I actually process that part in my, when I've got it set up in my recurring transactions BAS end of quarter journal. I would actually add it back in there. So again, it's one of those things, guys, if you want it to work automatically for you, you can. And if you want to, a bit like me, if you're a little bit more anal and you want things under a little bit more of a stricter control, I do mine basically 3/4 of the way. I actually do it automatically. Then I stop there and I actually then do process a lot of my journals manually. So everyone, that is the presentation today. Hopefully you've got a lot out of it. I do suggest strongly that you do go to the product updates this Wednesday and print that off, and it will give you the step-by-step guide on how to actually run the actual GST Center. So everyone, thank you very much.